Brothers and sisters, have you ever wondered why the US President is so submissive to the Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu? Well, here are some clues.
You might have heard of Epstein files, which has been haunting the US President Donald Trump for quite some time now. We take you to the late 1990s to make you understand the truth.
The Epstein file consists of 3.5 million pages, 180,000 photos, and 2,000 plus videos. And it's not that easy to just cover such a vast topic in a few minutes video. However, we are taking you to close to the points which is to be considered vital in this aspect. The Jeffrey Epstein files involved a 2005-2008 sex trafficking probe ending in a lenient plea deal followed by his 2019 arrest, jail death, and accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell's 2021 conviction. Massive document releases followed, notably in 2024 and 2026, revealing flight logs, witness names, leading to Epstein Files Transparency Act in late 2025. In 2008, secret plea deal allows low-level conviction. In 2019, arrested on federal sex trafficking charges and dies by suicide. In 2021, Ghislaine Maxwell convicted of sex trafficking. In 2024-25, significant court records unsealed in civil lawsuits. In November 2025, US passes Epstein Files Transparency Act. In January 2026, Department of Justice releases millions of documents.
The story begins with Donald Trump having a friend in Jeffrey Epstein, a financier and a child sex offender.
Although Trump and Epstein were friends from late 1980s, Trump acknowledged knowing Epstein only from 2002. The flight logs confirm Trump flew in Epstein's plane in 2000 and also attended and sent messages for a 2003 birthday party of Epstein. Later on, there was a dispute between Trump and Epstein after competing over a Palm Beach property purchase. In 2007, Trump bans Epstein from Mar-a-Lago, a property which belonged to, it's actually a social club with 126 rooms spread over 62,500 square feet. Epstein was banned after accusations that Epstein sexually harassed a member's daughter. In 2019, Epstein is arrested on sex trafficking charges, and Trump described it as he wasn't a fan of Epstein. Trump, serving as president in 2025-26, signs the Epstein Files Transparency Act into law in November 2025. More than 3 million pages or documents was actually released in January 2026. US President Donald Trump keeps facing questions about Jeffrey Epstein, the multimillionaire sex offender who died in jail in 2019. Melania Trump, the First Lady of US, states that she met Jeffrey Epstein around 2000. She denies any close ties with him and also makes it clear that she was not introduced to Donald Trump by Epstein. In 1998, Melania Trump maintains that she met Donald Trump in a party in 1998. In 2000, in a statement via the White House official site, she claims that she first crossed path with Epstein, that is, first met Epstein at an event in 2000. Donald Trump breaks ties with Epstein following a real estate dispute. In April 2026, Melania Trump publicly denies ever being friends with Epstein, stating her email to Ghislaine Maxwell were only casual correspondence and that she had no knowledge of his criminal undertakings.
Here is the full statement given by Melania Trump, denying all contacts with Epstein and Maxwell.
Good afternoon. The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence. My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note. I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998. This initial encounter with my husband is documented in detail in my book, Melania. The first time I crossed paths with Epstein was in the year 2000 at an event Donald and I attended together. At the time, I had never met Epstein and had no knowledge of his criminal undertakings. Numerous fake images and statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on social media for years now. Be cautious about what you believe. These images and stories are completely false. I'm not a witness or a named witness in connection with any of Epstein's crimes. My name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements, or FBI interviews surrounding the Epstein matter. I have never had any knowledge of Epstein abuse of his victims. I was never involved in any capacity. I was not a participant, was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island. I have never been legally accused or convinced of a crime in connection with Epstein's sex trafficking, abuse of minors, and other repulsive behavior. The false smears about me from mean-spirited and politically motivated individuals and entities looking to cause damage to my good name, to gain financially and climb politically, must stop. My attorneys and I have fought these unfounded and baseless lies with success and will continue to maintain my sound reputation without hesitation. To date, several individuals and companies have been legally obligated to publicly apologize and retract their lies about me, such as Daily Beast, James Carville, and HarperCollins, UK. Now is the time for Congress to act. Epstein was not alone. Several prominent male executives resigned from their powerful positions after this matter became widely politicized. Of course, this doesn't amount to guilt, but we still must work openly and transparently to uncover the truth. I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors. Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony. Each and every woman should have her day to tell her story in public if she wishes, and then her testimony should be permanently entered into the congressional record. Then, and only then, we will have the truth.
Amanda Ungaro, who knew Melania for 20 years, replied in no time, but this time it was a warning. Moving on to Kash Patel, the FBI director. Unfortunately, it is not investigation now, it is illegality. Kash Patel managed to remove Trump's name from as many as 100,000 files soon after he was confirmed his office in February 2025.
Kash Patel, before he was made the FBI director, was fighting for the truth behind or bringing out the conspiracy involved in the death of Epstein. But later on, once he was the FBI director, he was actually interested in proving the death was by suicide. Now, what has Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to do with Epstein or Epstein files? Initially, it was not of a big concern to Netanyahu, but the former Prime Minister for Israel, Barak was a good friend of Epstein and a frequent visitor to his island. So Benjamin Netanyahu always used this in his elections, that ministerial elections or the elections in Israel. Even now, he kept it in such a way that Barak will never come up as a prime minister in future. Now, when it comes to the arrest of Epstein in 2019, was a major issue, a political issue in Israel. And Netanyahu took advantage of these details about Barak in his elections. Also, you have to consider many things like in 2019, as per the reports, Epstein died by suicide in a jail in a small strip, using a small strip of cloth, which is not believable and cannot be the truth. Epstein at that time was actually a big headache for then President Donald Trump. That was in 2019. Netanyahu, who was the Prime Minister of Israel in 2019. Netanyahu is a Jew, and so is Epstein. Netanyahu had some papers which was actually documents, a few hundred or few thousand pages or details about Trump, Melania Trump, and their relations with Epstein. It was actually not disclosed, but Trump knew about this. Kash Patel knew about this. And it was always marked as Israeli intelligence, that is Mossad's, the files to attack Barak. So the Epstein worked for Israeli intelligence. This was the briefing which was given, but which was also always like, even Netanyahu was against this, but it remains a truth that there is something which has been done in the killing of Epstein when he was jailed. It is still believed that Jeffrey Epstein was killed for the safety of Melania Trump. Although the reports say it was suicide, most of the evidences stands against it. But it was neatly done, and there is like a chance of having the support from even Netanyahu or the Mossad intelligence, the Israeli intelligence, in this killing. Also, Netanyahu kept some confidential documents which is not a part of the Epstein files till date. Epstein files, as you know, it's nearly 3.5 million pages, which is actually missing these very important pages. And as you know, more than 100,000 pages were removed by Cash Patel, which held the name of Donald Trump and his associates, of course. So this is why Trump is something like a puppet to Netanyahu. And you might have seen from the war which is going on, the way Donald Trump acts. And so even for the what you call the truce or the ceasefire, he's been very liberal with Israel and keep on threatening Iran. In the war against Lebanon also, although it was included in the ceasefire, you can see Trump was favoring Israel in continuing the war with Lebanon. So, and even in other cases, you can understand, like, the dream of Netanyahu is just to make a greater Israel. I don't know whether you will believe the size of Israel is only around 40,000 square kilometers. And what he is considering now of a greater Israel is more than 400,000 square kilometers. A part of Egypt, a part of Saudi Arabia, and many other countries. Attacking these countries and like making it a greater Israel. And how come, a president going down like this to a country like a president of a superpower or a world police? A president of US going down and further down, just for sake of Israel, just for sake of Netanyahu. This has something hidden in it. So it's high time to think and high time to know the truth.
As always, we are trying to disclose the truth, reveal the truth behind every news. This is all for today. Thank you all. God bless you.